Good morning, everyone. So we are going to discuss venous and lymphatic drainage of upper limb today. So this is of course a very important topic, and usually it can come as an essay question also, the venous drainage. Now, when you just look into this picture, like this is from the dorsum of the hand. Okay, this is the posterior compartment of arm, posterior compartment of forearm, posterior compartment of arm, and then you can see the shoulder. So this is the thing what you see from the dorsum, posterior aspect. When you see from the anterior aspect, you are seeing this is palm, this is forearm, and we have arm, and finally you are finding the veins are moving towards the axillary vein. So venous drainage, when you talk about the venous drainage of upper limb, we have veins arranged in two sets. We have superficial veins and then we have deep veins. And the veins we view from the dorsal aspect, also called as posterior aspect, and the veins what we see from anterior aspect. Now, what are the veins we see from the posterior aspect, that is over the dorsum of the hand? So when you just look into this picture, these small veins, they are actually called as digital veins. The digital veins are seen, see, in these interdigital spaces, interdigital clefts. And you can see they are draining into one straight vein, that is actually metacarpal vein. So all these metacarpal veins are actually draining into an arch, which is called as dorsal venous arch. So this dorsal venous arch, if you just look into my hand also, see here. So over the dorsum of our hand, whatever arch we see is the dorsal venous arch, this one. Okay, and this dorsal venous arch is unique for each person. Even when you just look at two identical twins also, we do not usually find the dorsal venous arch the same. Okay, then. So from this dorsal venous arch, always venous drainage, you should move from the tip of the digits. You should take the venous blood towards the heart. That is, it is reverse to the arterial blood supply. Venous drainage is in reverse direction. Okay, so from the medial side of the dorsal venous arch, I always tell you, little finger is on medial side, thumb is on lateral side when you keep the body in the anatomical position. So this is the correct anatomical position, what you see, palmar aspect facing forwards. So little finger is near the midline, which is medial, and thumb is away from midline, which is lateral. So if you just observe this dorsal venous arch, medially it is draining its blood and continuing as basilic vein. Laterally, the dorsal venous arch is continuing as cephalic vein. Okay, further journey you cannot see from the posterior aspect of the forearm. Instead, you will be able to see them more clearly. You can see the superficial veins in your own hand. Okay, so we have superficial veins in your forearm. Just try to observe them. They will be bluish in color in your body. Okay, I'll just show you the location. See, this is my forearm. So in the forearm, see, thumb is lateral, I said, and from the lateral aspect, you have this cephalic vein, okay, some bluish discoloration. Similarly, from the little finger, this side, we have the basilic vein. Try to observe these veins in your own forearm, okay? And in the elbow area, in this elbow region, you will find there will be one vein connecting the cephalic and basilic vein. You call this vein as median cubital vein. Median cubital vein. Okay. Further journey, you can see these basilic and the cephalic veins. Finally, they are draining into axillary vein. So, axillary vein will be draining into the brachiocephalic vein. And we know the right and left brachiocephalic vein, subclavian vein, then brachiocephalic vein. Right? So we know like right and left brachiocephalic veins will join and they finally drain into one big vein which is directly opening into the right atrium of the heart. Can you name them? Can you name the big vein which is opening into the right atrium? Yes, right. That is superior vena cava. Okay, that is. Now, so that is the introduction of the topic of what we are going to learn today, and each and every point I will discuss in detail, nothing to worry. See, veins of the upper limb, we are just arranging them in under two subheadings. We have superficial veins and then we have deep veins. So under superficial veins, we have dorsal venous network. Okay, so I told you that is seen from the dorsum of our hand. So medial continuation is basilic vein and lateral continuation is cephalic vein. Okay, then so both of them, they will be actually draining into the axillary vein. Okay, connecting the cephalic and basilic right in front of the elbow joint. We have very important vein, that is median cubital vein. Okay, apart from that, I will show you in the other pictures very clearly. There is one vein in the mid of the forearm. You call it as median vein of the forearm. Okay, then these are the superficial veins. Once you know the superficial veins, now if you just remember the branching pattern of arteries, correspondingly the veins have been named. Okay, so like accompanying the radial artery, we have radial vein. Accompanying the ulnar artery, we have ulnar vein. Accompanying the brachial artery, we have brachial vein. Accompanying the axillary artery, we have axillary vein. Okay, these are all deep veins. Finally, the whole blood from this like superficial veins and deep veins will be draining into the subclavian and then into the brachiocephalic veins. So I have just shown you in my hand the dorsum. I told you there is a arch on the dorsum of our hand. You call, what is the name of that structure you have on the dorsum? You call it as dorsal venous arch. And it is not same for everyone. It differs from person to person. Okay, so this arch-like structure, whatever we have here is dorsal venous arch. Okay, now let us see the details of everything now. See, the superficial veins, always venous drainage. I told you we should start the draining process. The collection of blood begins from the digits, right? So the veins, what we have from the digits, you call them as dorsal digital veins. They pass along the sides of the fingers and they are joined to one another by oblique communicating vein. I hope you are able to see where I kept my cursor. This point is the oblique communicating branch. Okay, so that means these dorsal digital veins, they are seen on either side of the fingers and they are joined to one another by these oblique communicating branches. So from those from the adjacent sides of the fingers, they unite to form three dorsal metacarpal veins. Now you can see this is one dorsal metacarpal vein, second and third dorsal metacarpal veins. This dorsal metacarpal vein, finally, it drains into an arch. You call it as dorsal venous arch. Okay. Now see, this picture is quite simple. I will tell you. See, these are our digital veins, right? This is the oblique communicating vein. Okay. So the digital veins are draining into metacarpal veins, which are usually 3 in number. These metacarpal veins are draining into this arch on the dorsum of our hand. You call it as dorsal venous arch. The dorsal venous arch continuation on lateral side is cephalic vein. You can see the direction of blood flow. It's moving towards the heart. Similarly, the dorsal venous arch on the medial side, that's what is little finger, you are finding it is moving towards the basilic vein. Okay, now this is our dorsal venous arch. Try to check in your own hand. You will find it very interesting. You can see the dorsal venous arch, you can see digital veins, you can see metacarpal veins. Okay, then so the dorsal venous arch lies in subcutaneous tissue proximal to the metacarpopharyngeal joint. So that's what is that then. So you can see on the lateral side, it is draining into the cephalic vein, and on the medial side, it is draining into basilic vein. So it communicates with the deep veins of the palm freely. Now, the veins of the palm, see, this is the palmar aspect. In the palm also, if you observe, there are all small venous channels, bluish in color. Those are superficial palmar venous arch. Okay, you have seen the superficial like palmar arch and deep palmar arch, when you have done the blood supply, right, of the palm, correspondingly, we have the superficial palmar venous arch and deep palmar venous arch. Okay. Then the superficial veins of the upper extremity, the palmar digital veins of each finger are connected by dorsal digital veins by oblique intercapitular vein. Try to understand this. Okay. So this is dorsal digital vein because you are seeing from the dorsum of the hand. Suppose if this is palmar aspect, these are the palmar digital veins. So dorsal digital veins and palmar digital veins both are communicated by means of an oblique vein which is called as oblique intercapitular vein. Okay, so they drain into venous plexus which is situated over thenar and hypothenar eminences and across the front of the wrist. Now see. Now coming to cephalic vein, if you remember, we have studied about anatomical snuff box. So it is formed in the anatomical snuff box from the lateral side of the dorsal venous arch, right? So it is just moving upwards, that is ascends on the radial side of the forearm to the elbow, where it is connected to the basilic vein by means of a connection. What is that connection I have been showing you? That is median cubital vein. Medial side we have basilic vein, lateral side we have cephalic vein. In front of the elbow, both are communicated by means of median cubital vein. Okay. Now, the cephalic vein, what has started from the lateral aspect of the dorsal venous arch, now then it is seen on the lateral side of this muscle. What is the name of this muscle? Biceps brachiae. Okay, lateral side of the biceps brachiae. Okay, and it is actually seen in the furrow and continues up in the arm. What is the name of this groove? Deltopectoral groove, isn't it? Because it is present between the pectoralis major muscle and deltoid muscle. That's why you call this groove as deltopectoral groove. So the journey of cephalic vein is continuing in the deltopectoral groove, where it is accompanied by one artery. What is that? The deltoid branch of thoracoacromial artery. If you remember, me telling you axillary artery, second part has one of the branches like thoracoacromial artery, which has further four branches A, P, C, D. That is the code what I gave you, right? Acromial, pectoral, then C is clavicular and D is deltoid. Yes, right. Very good. So, and then to the infraclavicular fossa, you can see its journey where it is piercing the clavipectoral fascia to drain into axillary vein. So, finally, the cephalic vein is draining into axillary vein. Sometimes the cephalic vein directly joins the external jugular vein, which you see in the neck region, superficial to the clavicle. That means, of course, veins will have lot of variations. You will encounter these variations when you are doing dissection. Instead of draining into axillary vein, which is more common, sometimes this cephalic vein may drain into external jugular vein. Okay, I hope you understood. So let me just tell you now, see here, this is our cephalic vein which has started as a continuation from the lateral aspect of the dorsal venous arch, continuing from the anatomical snuff box, and you can see it is seen on the lateral side of the forearm. It is joining with the basilic vein by means of median cubital vein. Further journey of cephalic vein is on the lateral aspect of the biceps brachiae. It is moving in the deltopectoral groove along with the thoracoacromial artery, isn't it? Then it is piercing the clavipectoral fascia to open into the axillary vein. Suppose if cephalic vein comes, then you are supposed to write these points, right? Now, coming to cardiac catheterization. So, cardiac catheterization is a technique where generally we introduce a catheter for the purpose of certain surgical treatments. Okay. So, or for the collection of blood also. Okay. So, cardiac catheterization through the cephalic vein is usually not preferred because of possible obstruction of the catheter at the communication between cephalic and axillary veins. Okay, see, this is our like cephalic vein, and this is the deltopectoral groove where it has taken a bend. It doesn't go straight forward. It is having a bent course to open into the axillary vein. That's the reason we usually do not choose cephalic vein for the purpose of putting a catheter. Okay, that is. So cardiac catheterization, we usually do not prefer cephalic vein because it is not directly opening into axillary vein. Instead, it is just taking a bend. Now, let us talk about basilic vein. So we know like it has started from the medial aspect of the dorsal venous arch, isn't it? Then you can see it is moving on the ulnar side of the forearm and it is moving up to the elbow. And right in front of the elbow, it is connected to the cephalic vein by means of this oblique vein. What is the name of this oblique vein we have? This is median cubital vein. This one. Connecting the basilic and cephalic, we have median cubital vein. So in the further upward course, you can see it is accompanying the biceps brachiae on the medial side, isn't it? Where it is piercing the deep fascia. Then beneath the fascia, it accompanies the vena commitans of brachial artery. What are vena commitans? Usually, the deeper arteries will have two veins on either side, which you call them as vena commitans. In general CVS, we have studied about this, right? So, vena commitans of the brachial artery. Finally, this basilic vein and two vena commitans of the brachial vein, they finally drain into axillary vein. Okay, they all three assemble into one and they open into axillary veins. Now, if you observe this vein now, basilic vein, it is quite straight and it is directly opening into the heart, right? So that's the reason if you want to do any catheterization, that means when you are passing a catheter through the vein, okay, in order to do some diagnostic procedures or for certain treatments, if you just use this catheter, you can make use of this vein. That is basilic vein because it is much in straight line with the superior vena cava. Very easy to reach the heart. Okay, so cardiac catheterization is a medical procedure used to diagnose and also to treat certain heart conditions. Okay, a long flexible tube called catheter is put into blood vessel. Usually now we are talking about the arm. We can also pass this catheter through the groin, that is the upper thigh. Sometimes we can pass the catheter through the neck region also. And you will see this catheter is connected to heart. Okay, threaded to heart. Through the catheter, the diagnostic tests and treatments of the heart can be performed. Okay, then. Now, applied anatomy, so cannulation through basilic vein for cardiac catheterization is preferable because you can see its continuity with axillary vein without any angulation. Basilic vein is quite straight, right? Isn't it? So, whereas cephalic vein, if you observe, it is just taking a bend, for which reason cephalic vein is not preferred, whereas basilic vein is quite straight and it is opening straight forwards into axillary, then subclavian, then brachiocephalic, then superior vena cava. So straight journey, it makes us very easy to pass a catheter. Okay, that is. Now, next important like vein which is connecting the basilic vein and cephalic vein is median cubital vein. This is a very popular question we have in our university exams, internal assessment exams during our viva. Very, very important for your career also because this is the vein through which we usually draw blood for diagnostic procedures and also for treatment purpose. Okay, so this is median cubital vein, very, very important vein. So it is anastomosing channel in front of the elbow that passes upwards and medially from the cephalic vein to basilic vein. This is the direction. Okay, so it is passing upwards and medially from cephalic, which is lateral, to basilic, which is medial. Okay, then direction of the blood vessel also will be asked. So it should be very clear, like it is moving from the cephalic vein to the basilic vein. Okay, upwards and medially near to the midline. So it lies right in front of the bicipital aponeurosis. I hope you remember bicipital aponeurosis when you were doing cubital fossa. MBBR are the structures what you have encountered, isn't it? Median nerve, brachial artery, bicipital aponeurosis, and radial nerve, right? the floor of the cubital fossa, if you remember. So similarly, now this is the bicipital aponeurosis, this whitish expansion before the biceps tendon is getting inserted into the radial tuberosity. It gives this aponeurotic sheet expansion, which is the bicipital aponeurosis. So right in front of the bicipital aponeurosis, you will see this median cubital vein. Okay, then so which separates the vein from the brachial artery and median nerve. Okay, this is our median nerve, MBBR, right? Or MBBS is the code which we generally make use to remember the structures in the floor of the cubital fossa. So M is standing. These are all from medial to lateral, right? So we have median nerve, then we have brachial artery, we have bicipital aponeurosis, we have superficial branch of radial nerve. Okay, then so now quite like see a bicipital aponeurosis is there right in front of which you have median cubital vein. So this separates the vein from this brachial artery and also median nerve. Okay, this bicipital aponeurosis. So it lies between the two cutaneous nerves, which I have shown you here. Towards the midline, we have the medial cutaneous nerve, and away from the midline, we have lateral cutaneous nerve of the forearm. So this median cubital vein is lying between lateral and medial cutaneous nerves of the forearm, and it communicates with the deep veins of the forearm. Sometimes it receives here a tributary. I will show you. Of course, it is not shown here, but in the initial slides, I have shown you there is one vein in the midline. What is that? Median antebrachial vein, which is also called as median vein of forearm. I will show you. It's only I'm moving it here, but still vein is not here. I'll show you. Okay, that means this median cubital vein is sometimes receiving median like vein of the forearm, also called as median antebrachial vein. Now, what is the clinical significance? Why are we so much bothered about this median cubital vein? Because it is a frequent site for venipuncture. If you are planning for any like removal of blood sample, okay, when you are planning to take any intravenous injection, or when you plan for blood transfusion for your patient and also for cardiac catheterization, we can make use of this median cubital vein. Okay. The other things what we should know is there are certain like clinical conditions where we need to just connect artery and vein in order to do certain treatment procedures. Okay. So generally, in case of renal failure, we undertake a procedure called as hemodialysis. You must have heard about this in common people's language like dialysis, patient is on dialysis, kidneys are no more functioning. Okay, so that in fact we use the word hemodialysis medically. So in order to do hemodialysis, generally there is a connection made between an artery and vein. So that is called as arteriovenous fistulae. Fistulae means communication. Okay, this is artery and this is vein, and if you are just joining them, naturally there are no connections between artery and vein. Okay, but here for the treatment purpose, we are now introducing a connection between artery and vein. We call it as internal arteriovenous fistulae. We generally do this in order to treat chronic renal failure by the technique called as hemodialysis. So the vein of choice here is the cephalic vein, because it is, you can see it is towards the thumb. So this is cephalic vein, and the artery of choice quite adjacent to that. What artery do we have? Just remember the anatomical snuff box. Whatever structures you find there, we are just joining them, cephalic vein and radial artery above the wrist to permit repeated venipuncture access to the bloodstream. Generally, we will be allowing the blood to move into a dialyzing unit, an instrument which is actually working as a kidney, artificial kidney. Once the filtered blood is there, it is going back to the artery. Okay, so that's how we generally need a continuous puncture, repeated venipuncture for the access of bloodstream, for which we make this type of connection, that is internal arteriovenous fistulae, for which we make use of this cephalic vein and radial artery. Okay, so I hope you must be now very much clear. So first we started with dorsal venous arch on the dorsum of the hand, then The medial connect, like continuation, we named it as basilic vein. Lateral continuation, we named it as cephalic vein. Right in front of the elbow, we have seen the cephalic and basilic are joined by median cubital vein. Cephalic vein is moving towards the lateral aspect of biceps brachiae, moving in the deltopectoral groove, piercing the clavipectoral fascia to open into axillary vein. Whereas basilic vein is moving on the medial side of the forearm. Okay, it is receiving this median cubital vein. It is moving on the medial aspect of the biceps brachiae. Two vena comitants of the brachial vein, three of them will join. They form a single unit to open into the axillary vein. So this is the summary of all superficial veins, what you should know. Okay, I also told you, like, of course, this is cephalic vein and this is basilic vein, and the direction is upwards and medially is the median cubital vein. Okay, it's named here as medial vein of forearm. Anything is fine, but the most popular name what we use is median cubital vein only. Okay, it is seen in the cubital fossa within the roof, right? Then, so in the forearm, you have this median vein of the forearm. I told you, though it is not seen, I will show you in a separate picture. So this is the median vein of the forearm, which is actually opening here in the median cubital vein. Okay, see, this is our median cubital vein, and this is the like sometimes it is found, not always. You call it as median vein of forearm. Okay, all the veins are very clearly shown here, isn't it? Towards the thumb, you have cephalic vein. Towards the little finger, you have basilic vein. Connecting, you have median cubital vein. Draining into median cubital, we have median vein of the forearm. Okay. So it arises in the palm, ascends in front of the forearm, drains into the basilic vein. See the direction. Or median cubital vein. Okay. Then you can see it is just dividing into two branches. Okay. Median basilic vein drains into basilic vein and median cephalic vein drains into cephalic vein. Okay. That is. So lateral division is the cephalic vein. Medial division is draining in the basilic vein. Okay. Now, once you finish the superficial veins, after this, we should know the deep veins of upper limb. The deep veins of upper limb, I told you they are accompanying the arteries of same name. So what are the various arteries we have? If you remember, actually there is one picture of arteries also. Let me take you to that arteries before somewhere I remember. Yeah. See here, it is nowhere related to the slide what you are seeing here. Just try to listen to the artery picture. See, axillary artery we have discussed in one of our lectures. Axillary artery is the continuation of subclavian artery. Axillary artery continues as brachial artery. Brachial artery in front of the radial tuberosity, it divides into radial artery on the lateral side and ulnar artery on the medial side. It forms an arch in the palm to form superficial palmar arch. Okay, so proximally we have deep palmar arch and distally we have superficial palmar arch. Of course, the position is right within the superficial region. You find superficial palmar arch, and lying over the bones we find the deep palmar arch. These are all like digital arteries, right? Now, when you talk about venous drainage, we have veins accompanying like this. We have again the deep digital veins. We have accompanying. We have this venous arches. Again, the deep veins now they are named as radial vein, ulnar vein, brachial vein, which finally drains into axillary vein. Okay, and these veins are basically seen as two veins on either side of the artery. Okay, suppose radial artery is in the middle, on either side you will find two veins. We use the word vena comitants in order to describe such type of arrangement. When you find artery in the middle and it is accompanied by two veins on either side, we use the word vena comitants. Now let's go back. So with this little knowledge, now let us see what are the deep veins we have. So deep veins, we name them as vena comitants because they are seen as two veins on either side of the artery. Finally, all these vena comitants are draining into the same vein where the superficial set of veins also have drained. That is nothing but axillary vein. Okay, axillary vein drains into subclavian, subclavian drains into brachiocephalic, brachiocephalic drains into superior vena cava. Superior vena cava drains into right atrium. That's how this is the venous drainage. Okay, the deoxygenated blood is being collected and it is being pumped to the heart in this way. Okay, then so vena commitans, I have been telling you, like this is the artery in the middle. On either side of the artery, if you find two veins, you call them as vena commitans. Okay, so the deep veins accompany respective arteries. Now suppose if you see radial arteries on either side, we have radial veins. Suppose if you see ulnar arteries on either side, you have two veins which are nothing but ulnar veins. So these are nothing but vena commitans. Brachial artery also, you have two veins on either side, isn't it? That is the brachial veins. So ulnar vein, radial vein, brachial vein, all are in two sets. You call them as vena commitans. Okay. So finally, you see these vena commitans join the basilic vein at the lower border of teres major to drain into axillary vein. Okay, that is. You can see this is how it is going. This is the axillary vein. Okay, this is the basilic vein. Can you see the deeper veins also are actually opening here? Okay, so these are nothing but the vena commitants of the brachial vein. I told you all three will join, they form into one and then they open into axillary vein. Just now I told you when I was discussing about the basilic vein, right? So this is basilic vein and these are the deeper brachial veins. It's named here. Okay, the paired brachial veins, they are opening into the basilic vein and basilic vein is finally opening into the axillary vein. Axillary vein is finally opening into subclavian. Subclavian into brachiocephalic. Brachiocephalic into superior vena cava. So now that's what axillary vein. It is formed by the union of this basilic veins and these vena commitants of brachial vein. Okay, renamed subclavian vein. After it passes, that means the name of the axillary vein becomes subclavian as it changes its course. That means above the clavicle, its name has now become into the subclavian vein. So tributaries correspond to the branches of axillary artery and also it receives, can't you see here, like cephalic vein is also draining into the axillary vein. Okay, that's what. Now the tributaries of axillary vein generally follow the branches of axillary artery. See, these are our vena commitants, basilic vein. This is our axillary vein. After axillary vein, we have this one is like subclavian vein. Okay, as you go down, we have this as brachiocephalic, which is not shown, of course. Okay, then other tributaries include the brachial veins, axillary. I told you much in detail. So axillary vein drains into subclavian vein. Okay, again let me summarize the deeper veins. Palmar digital veins, palmar venous plexuses. Then we have radial veins, vena commitants, ulnar veins, vena commitants, brachial veins, vena commitants. The brachial veins, two set of vena commitants draining into basilic vein. Basilic vein is draining into axillary vein. Axillary vein is draining into subclavian. Subclavian into the brachiocephalic into superior vena cava. Superior vena cava into this chamber, that is the right atrium of the heart. Okay, so that is the subclavian vein forms, that means it is continuing its journey into the brachiocephalic vein along with jugular veins. Okay, that means this is the point. Brachiocephalic, right? The two brachiocephalic, that means right side you call it as right brachiocephalic, left side you call it as left brachiocephalic. Both the brachiocephalic veins will join together to form superior vena cava. Okay, that means the venous blood is in this direction, it is moving into the superior vena cava. Okay, so this is superficial veins, you can see, deep veins, you can see. Superficial veins we have named as cephalic, basilic, right? Deep veins we have radial vein, ulnar vein, brachial vein, then into the basilic vein, axillary vein, right? Subclavian, brachiocephalic, superior vena cava. That's it. Now, spider web varicosity. It means that you are finding the veins become too much tortuous. Okay, and the blood is getting just clotted over there. So this spider web varicosity is actually called as telangiectasia. Okay, usually we do not find varicosity much in upper limb because upper limb veins do not have valves because the blood is not moving opposite to the gravity. More or less it is towards the gravity only. But whereas in the lower limbs, the blood should be pulled against gravity towards the abdomen into the inferior vena cava. So veins of the lower limb will have valves. Okay. So suppose if these valves are failing, then the veins become tortuous. So if the veins of the lower limb have valves, suppose if these valves are just failing, then the veins become tortuous, and this condition is actually called as varicose veins, right? So that actually finishes the venous drainage of upper limb. Please remember, venous drainage of upper limb can be an essay question, which is generally carrying 15 marks. Okay, so slowly listen to the lecture. Once you are done with that, we will do the lymphatic drainage. See, lymphatic drainage, more or less, we have studied with the lymphatic drainage of mammary gland. We also have done about axillary lymph nodes. So 90% of the lecture of this lymph nodes of the upper limb is actually focused on the axillary group of lymph nodes only. It's very simple. It is actually the repetition of what we have already studied in axillary group of lymph nodes. So nothing to worry, very simple. Now let us see the overall view of the lymph nodes and trunks. In my initial class of lymphatic system, I hope you remember me telling the lymphatic system is nothing but it is something like an assistant to the venous system. So whatever lymph which is left out in the tissue spaces is being collected by lymphatic vessels. It passes through series of lymph nodes to get filtered from the bacteria, and finally you will see the whole lymph will be draining into the lymphatic ducts, right? On the right side, we have right lymphatic duct, and on the left side, we have thoracic duct, right? Isn't it? So, which is generally opening at the junction of this subclavian vein, isn't it? The brachiocephalic, right? Okay, now let us see. The lymphatic drainage of upper limb, the lymphatic vessels of the upper limb consists of superficial vessels in subcutaneous tissue accompanying the superficial veins. So these black lines, whatever has been shown, these are all lymphatic vessels, okay, which are actually accompanying the veins. Deep vessels beneath the deep fascia, they accompany the arteries. The superficial lymphatics, these are two subcutaneous lymphatic plexuses. One is seen on the dorsum of the hand and the other is seen in the palm. Okay, so this dorsal digital lymph vessels and palmar digital lymph vessels, they form the plexuses. Suppose if it is on dorsum, that is dorsal plexus, which receives vessels from the palmar plexus through web of fingers. That means this region. Okay, that means from the palmar area, the lymph is now moving to the dorsal area. Okay, then now the lymphatic channels of both the sets, these green lines, whatever have been shown, these are all lymphatic channels, lymphatic vessels. Okay, so the both the lymphatic sides, that means on the lateral side and medial side, they are actually accompanying the cephalic vein on lateral side, basilic vein on medial side. Okay, these vessels draining the, see, 1, 2, 3, the medial three fingers and the medial side of the hand and the medial side of the forearm follow basilic vein. These are the lymphatic vessels. 1, 2, 3 fellows, they move towards the medial side. Rest of the fellows, they are moving towards the lateral side. That means they are accompanying the which vein? Cephalic vein. Okay. Now, suppose if these three side, like fingers and the medial side of the palm and medial side of the forearm, you can see they are the lymph from this area is being collected by this group of lymph nodes, which is supratrochlear group of lymph nodes. Okay, supratrochlear group of lymph nodes. Okay. Then capitulum trochlea are the words which you have seen with humerus bone, right? Then efferent vessels, that means from here, whatever vessels are there, they are moving, draining into lateral group of axillary group of lymph nodes, right? So the journey is 1, 2, 3 fingers, medial side of the palm, medial side of the hand, medial side of the forearm, accompanying the like basilic vein and moving into supratrochlear group of lymph nodes, then accompanying on the medial side of the arm, and finally draining into lateral group of axillary lymph nodes. Okay, that is the lymphatic channel. Now, what is left over? The lymphatic channel from the thumb and index finger. Obviously, what is left over? They are moving on the lateral side of the hand, forearm. They are moving along with cephalic vein. They are finally moving and draining. See, this is our clavicle. And finally, the lymph is now being drained into infraclavicular group of lymph nodes. Below the clavicle, we have set of lymph nodes. Those are infraclavicular lymph nodes. Its journey is, it's accompanied like cephalic vein journey, we know it is moving in the deltopectoral groove, isn't it? That means these lymphatic vessels are also following the same route. Okay. Finally, they are moving into the apical group of lymph nodes, axillary lymph nodes, after piercing the clavipectoral fascia. Okay. Then. So what are the structures piercing the clavipectoral fascia? Try to recollect them. Again, it's a 3 marks question, isn't it? Cephalic vein is there, thoracoacromial artery is there, lateral pectoral nerve is there, and lymphatic vessels. You have studied that. So these lymphatic vessels are nothing but the lymphatic vessels which have actually started from thumb, index finger, moving along the lateral side of the forearm, then arm, the cephalic vein route, that is deltopectoral groove, piercing the clavipectoral fascia, finally draining into apical group of axillary lymph nodes. Okay, that finishes the superficial lymphatics. Once you are done with superficial lymphatics, then we will go with deep lymphatics. They communicate with superficial lymphatics in places they accompany, like radial artery, they accompany the ulnar artery, and they drain into lateral group of axillary lymph nodes. Okay, like we have seen from the medial aspect, everything was draining into lateral group of lymph nodes only, right? Similarly here also. Now these group of lymph nodes I have discussed in my previous class also. You can listen to the lecture of axillary lymph nodes again. The same thing is repeated here. Okay, the same slide, same explanation. That means if lymphatic drainage of upper limb is asked, you are supposed to discuss about axillary group of lymph nodes, which fall in the deep category of lymphatics. Okay, deep lymphatics. The axillary lymph nodes are of large size. They are around 20 to 30 in number, and they are generally arranged. We know all this: lateral group, anterior or pectoral group, posterior or subscapular groups, central or intermediate group, and apical group. Okay, now let us revise this anterior group. So it consists of 3 or 5 lymph nodes that lie along the medial wall of the axilla, around the lateral thoracic vein, and the inferior border of this muscle. What is this? Pectoralis minor. Okay, this pectoral group of lymph nodes, that is anterior group of lymph nodes, they receive lymph mainly from the anterior thoracic wall, including the mammary gland. Okay, then we have posterior group. Posterior is also called as subscapular group. It consists of 6 or 7 lymph nodes that lie along the posterior axillary fold, subscapular blood vessels. This group of lymph nodes receive lymph from posterior aspect of the trunk as far as below the iliac crest. Then we have lateral group of lymph nodes, also called as humeral group. It consists of again 4 to 6 lymph nodes that lie along the lateral wall of the axilla, then medial and posterior to the axillary vein. This group of lymph nodes receive lymph nearly from the whole upper limb, except for the lymph which is being carried by the cephalic vein, which drains into central and apical. This is the central one, and this is the apical axillary nodes. So efferents from the like central group, again we know finally everything goes into apical group of lymph nodes. Now see, this is central group of lymph nodes. It consists of again 3 to 4 large lymph nodes situated deep to the pectoralis minor muscle in the base of the axilla in association with second part of axillary artery. As the name indicates, the central group receives lymph from anterior group, posterior group, lateral group. Okay, so everything is now coming and it is draining in the central group of lymph nodes. From the central, whatever lymph is there, it is now moving into apical group of lymph nodes. Okay, so apical group, it consists of lymph nodes at the apex of axilla, okay, located along the medial side of the axillary vein. and the first part of the axillary, which corresponds in fact to the first part of the axillary artery. It receives lymph from all other axillary lymph nodes. That means anterior, posterior, lateral, central. The lymph which is collected from these lymph nodes is now going and getting drained into apical axillary lymph nodes. Okay. Now, what happens from the apical group of lymph nodes? The lymph efferents from the apical group, they form the subclavian trunk, which drains mostly at the junction of subclavian and internal jugular vein. This is the internal jugular, this is the subclavian. Both of them will join to form the brachiocephalic, right? So sometimes joins with the right lymphatic. On the right side, it will be the right lymphatic duct, and on the left side, it will be the thoracic duct. Okay. Few efferent lymphatic vessels may terminate into deep cervical lymph nodes. Instead of entering in this direction, they are moving towards head and neck. Now, these are the terms which I have already used when we were doing, like, of course, the axillary group of lymph nodes and also the lymphatic system. So, try to recollect what is lymphangitis. Yes, inflammation of lymphatic vessels. Lymph ang means vessel, itis is inflammation. Adenitis, nodes are inflamed. Lymph nodes are inflamed, you call it as lymphadenitis. Lymphedema, best example is Wuchereria bancrofti. You know, you should have studied in your intermediate +2 where you have filaria infection, right? Filariasis, where lot of, you will see the limbs become so much big, isn't it? So that is lymphedema. Okay. So suppose if these lymph nodes are enlarged, axillary group of lymph nodes are enlarged, generally there is one nerve which you have seen when you were doing the brachial plexus, there is one intercostobrachial nerve. This we have also discussed when we were doing axillary lymph nodes and also lymphatic drainage of mammary gland. This word usually comes. The intercostobrachial nerve is the thoracic nerve which generally pierces the thoracic cage and enters into the medial aspect of the arm. Okay, it gives cutaneous supply to the medial aspect of the trunk. Okay, thoracic cage and I mean this area, the lateral aspect of the thoracic cage and the medial aspect of the arm. So suppose if this nerve is compressed because of the enlargement of central group of lymph nodes, this nerve is getting paralyzed. It's not working, because of which patient will not have any sensation along its distribution. So no sensation on the lateral side of the thoracic cage and also on the medial side of the arm. Okay, generally we see this type of changes if the person is suffering with breast carcinoma, mammary gland cancer. Okay, now these are palpable and enlarged supratrochlear lymph nodes. They may be seen secondary to syphilis. Syphilis is one of the infections which you will be studying in second year microbiology. Okay, so syphilis, of course, it is a sexually transmitted disease. In case of syphilis infection, Treponema pallidum is the causative agent which causes syphilis. So it is causing the enlargement of lymph nodes just above the elbow joint. Okay, so it is associated with generalized lymphatic enlargement. So you can see the all how supratrochlear group of lymph nodes may be enlarged in case of there is any skin infection or lymphoma, that is cancer and skin malignancies. These are axillary group of lymph nodes which may be enlarged in case of course, breast cancer is the major thing. Apart from that, we have many skin infections and many more diseases. Okay, so then infraclavicular group of lymph nodes also may be actually enlarged in case of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Okay, thank you. I hope you understood. So let me also show you one 3D anatomy. So this is actually very good because I didn't find much of dissected things. Veins are very much superficial and very much difficult to see here. What are the various veins we have seen? We have superficial veins. Those are the dorsal digital veins. We have deep veins also. We have oblique veins connecting them, right? These are the metacarpal veins. This is the dorsal venous arch. On the lateral side, you have cephalic vein. On the medial side, we have basilic vein, isn't it? These are the things what we are seeing. So these are the dorsal digital veins which are named here. Okay. Then these are the dorsal metacarpal veins. Try to check in your own hand. Okay. This is the palmar aspect. In the palmar aspect also, again, I told you we have palmar digital veins, isn't it? Then superficial and deep. No, see, these are the intercapitular veins. You can see the area. So all these veins, they are finally draining into this vein. What is the name of this vein? Dorsal venous arch, isn't it? So the dorsal venous arch on the lateral side, it continues as cephalic. On the medial side, it continues as basilic. Okay. Now see here, the cephalic is shown in green color, basilic is shown in violet color. Okay. Now you are seeing in front of the forearm, both of them are connected, right? This is our basilic vein, this is our cephalic vein. Both are connected by median cubital vein, isn't it? What is this vein? Median vein of forearm, which opens into the median cubital vein, right? Then, so what is this veins? These are all like palmar venous network. I told you we have superficial and deeper ones, isn't it? And then this is the median antebrachial vein, which is also called as median vein of forearm. It actually divides into two, right? On the lateral side, it drains into the cephalic. On the medial side, it drains into basilic vein. Okay? Yeah, median cephalic. This, I mean, median is cephalic, median side, median branch, and median basilic. This is on the medial side and this is on the lateral side. So this vein, which is just connecting the cephalic and basilic veins, we call it as median cubital vein. Okay. The direction of blood, how is it? From the cephalic to the basilic. The direction is upwards and medially. Right? Then sometimes this is variation you may find here also median cubital vein between the median vein of forearm and this basilic vein. Very rare. Of course, veins will have lot of variations. If you see the course of the cephalic vein, this bulky muscle you are finding is biceps brachiae, moves along the lateral side of the biceps brachiae in the deltopectoral groove, pierces the clavipectoral fascia. Finally, we know it drains into which vein? Axillary vein. Okay, this one. Drains into axillary vein, cephalic vein. See here. Deltopectoral groove, it has pierced the clavipectoral fascia. Once it has pierced the clavipectoral fascia, it has opened into the axillary vein. Of course, this is the posterior aspect of the scapula, what you are seeing. Okay, now let us talk about the cephalic vein itself again. Cephalic vein, lateral side of the biceps, deltopectoral groove, isn't it? Is the deltopectoral groove, pierces the clavipectoral fascia. No? This is deltoid muscle, this is pectoralis major muscle, and the groove is deltopectoral groove. This is the clavipectoral triangle. The fascia we have here is the clavipectoral fascia. It pierces and opens into which vein? Axillary vein. Okay? this is the deltopectoral triangle. What are the boundaries? Pectoralis, major, deltoid and clavicle. These three. It pierces here and opens into this axillary vein. Okay. We know axillary vein continues as subclavian. Subclavian is joining this internal jugular. Both of them are joining to form the brachiocephalic. Brachiocephalic is now draining, also called as innominate, drains into superior vena cava. Right brachiocephalic, left brachiocephalic. Both of them will join to form superior vena cava. Now, the deeper veins. So similarly, we have deeper veins also, isn't it? So what are the various names? Again, we have the palmar digital veins, dorsal digital veins. Okay. Of course, there are veins from here. They will be draining into the venous arches, the superficial and deep palmar venous arch. Then we have vena commitans accompanying the radial artery. We have radial vena commitans accompanying the ulnar artery. We have ulnar vena commitans, right? Yeah. So from here, the venous blood will move to dash brachial vein, isn't it? Again, brachial vein also in two sets, right? So two sets of brachial veins on either side of the brachial artery. You call it as vena committents. And where is it draining? Both of them will join and they will open into dash vein. What is that? Basilic vein. Let us see the journey. This one. These are the vena committents. Okay. What vein is shown in this violet color? We know this is basilica on the medial side. Okay. So that's what is all about this. Let me show you one more video if possible. Try. Is this one? Just 2 minutes video, but I found it useful. Of course, you will get more clarity once you come to dissection hall. So superficial veins, now you can see here how it looks in the real cadaver. Okay, you are finding there is one vein communicating like this. You will easily name it as, know what? Median cubital vein, isn't it? You have to be very much clear about the lateral side and medial side, right? Okay, so here you have like this one is the cephalic vein and this is the basilic vein. Okay, and this is the median cubital vein. Okay. Yeah. Cephalic, basilic, and we have median cubital vein. Okay, this one, median cubital vein. This is of course region of cubital fossa. This is the median vein of the forearm, isn't it? Median vein of the forearm, which is actually draining into median cubital vein. Okay. So this is cephalic vein. You can see in the deltopectoral groove. It is running there. So this is biceps brachiae. On the lateral side, we have cephalic. Okay, and this cephalic deltopectoral groove, it pierces the clavipectoral fascia. And we know this cephalic vein is now opening into the axillary vein. Okay, the axillary vein will now continue its journey to the subclavian vein. Okay. So this side, on the medial side, we have basilic vein. Okay, this is median cubital vein. This is the basilic vein. Okay, the basilic vein is continuing its journey. Catheter can be easily passed, I said, because it is in straight course and it is draining into axillary vein. Okay, just lift this basilic vein. It becomes very easy for us to trace the axillary vein because it easily, you can see how it has been lifted and it is being shown here. Okay, this is basilic vein which is now draining into axillary vein. Okay, so that's it. Then, so that's what we have studied. I hope you understood this. Okay, So just try to read it for yourself, the venous and lymphatic drainages. A quick overview of the venous drainage. I told we have superficial veins and deep veins. Superficial veins like dorsal venous arch. From lateral side we have cephalic vein, medial side we have basilic vein. Connecting is the median cubital vein. Finally, you have this cephalic vein is just making a turn and opening into the axillary vein. That's why it is not suitable for catheterization. Basilic vein is going in straight line and opening into the axillary vein. Deeper veins, you have radial, all vena comitants, 2 in number. Radial veins, ulnar veins, brachial veins, 2 brachial veins will open into basilic, basilic into axillary, axillary into which one? Subclavian, subclavian into brachiocephalic, brachiocephalic, right and left brachiocephalic into superior vena cava, superior vena cava into right atrium. I hope you understood. Okay, so we'll stop here. Pause the video, try to read and study more and more so that it becomes easy for you. All the best. Thank you.